Hi, I'm Lisa Saunders, and Suzanne Doukas Niermeyer is behind the camera, as she always is on my show. But today we're in her neighborhood because she feels like taking a walk. And we're going to try this, and she just wants to know a few things about me, so I don't know what she's going to ask me. So you'll find out when I do. So Suzanne, what do you want to know?
Well, I know that you do marketing and you're a publicist and you're a talk show host. What are some of the projects that you have that you're working on? And what can we look for in the future?
Well, I'm a columnist for the new magazine Pathfinder, a companion guide to the widower's journey. I do a widowers of history, so I'm always, I prefer the long dead widow or widowers, like Norman Rockwell and Mary Todd Lincoln, Martha Washington. I did Milton Hershey. Anyway, so I'm always working on that. But I'm also excited to learn more and write more about shipwrecks in the area. Today, for example, I contacted the Historical Society because I'm looking for the unclaimed bodies from the Metis, which was a major shipwreck off Watch Hill. And I just found out where they are, so I can't wait to go visit them. So actually, that would be a fun place for you to come tape me. And Captain Bill Palmer, who's dived it a lot, he's the one who asked me to figure it out. So. Anyway, so I work with him on some projects. I work with you, obviously, on helping people write their memoirs, because so many people have a great story to tell, and they just need a little push and some relevant questions to get them going. So I do have those kind of classes. I'll be offering more of those. And Suzanne, you help with the editing, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and you're a good editor. And by the way, I recommend Suzanne when you need editing or ghostwriting, and everybody I've recommended her to said, oh, Suzanne's great, and she's done my website. I can really relate to her. She tells me how to do it from square one, so we can work together. So anyway, Suzanne, you're a big partner in my project, so thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. I wanted to back up a little bit. So in the Mystic Seafarers Trail, you were looking for dead bodies then too. Is this a theme? So you're off looking for dead bodies again?
Yes. As you know from my book, I love dead people because they don't complain when I write about them. And I always do my research. I try to make sure I have the facts straight. But that way I go by the facts and original resources through letters and whatnot. But they're not upset by what I write because they're dead. And if they are upset, they don't come bother me because I don't do any ghost hunting. I don't want ghosts to find me because I like to be able to write about them. I like them quietly moldering in the grave, and people are just more interesting for some reason when they're dead, because then you feel like you found treasure when you get little new bits of information about them. But yeah, I do, and especially living here in Mystic where there's so many people lost at sea. I love the graveyards here. I'm always finding somebody lost at sea or drowned on this epic shipwreck. I've got very interested in Thomas Wolfe because of what happened to him on the city of Waco. They did find his wreck, and that was down in Texas, and I interviewed the guy who died his wreck. So I just find that interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Your book was interesting. So as the host of the Lisa Saunders Show, could you talk a little bit about what you're looking for in a guest? Because you've had people that have bed and breakfasts, you've had songsters, you've had people from CLNP to talk about electricity and all that other good stuff, utilities. So could you talk a little bit about that? And while you're doing that, let's get walking, and hopefully we can get some of this traffic noise to a minimum.
Should we walk down this street?
Yeah.
And get away from the leaf blower?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly.
All right. I like people that are enthusiastic about what they do. A lot of people find a hobby that they're so passionate about that they give up doing real things that they should be doing to earn money to do these things, or they do their job professionally and they just love it. I'm just looking for human interest stories, really. And anybody that owns a business has a great human interest story, because they wouldn't do it if they didn't love it and have a passion for whatever it is, be it songwriter or shipwreck diving or exploration or anything like that. So I'm just looking for enthusiastic people, really.
Sure.
Because I can ask people anything real, and I don't like to give. I do give people people questions ahead of time. Like I might ask you this or that, or please send me 5 questions, but I always have to warn people I don't often use the questions that they send me. I might start off that way, but I really want the interview to go as it would a natural flow, as if you're just having coffee. And I don't want to keep looking at my notes. So I hope nobody ever expects to cover a certain amount of material, because we never know where the conversation's going to go.
Sure.
Have you found any shows where you were surprised, Suzanne, what came out, or were you just too busy behind the camera?
Well, in all honesty, sometimes I'm just more focused on getting the right look, but sometimes the conversation is so captivating that I forget what I'm doing behind the camera. So sometimes it's a catch-22. But one thing I wanted to ask you is how do you come by people for your show? I mean, people don't walk up to you and say, "Hey, Lisa, I want to be on your show," or maybe they do. And if you think someone has an interesting story, should they contact you?
Yeah, they should certainly contact me, but usually how I meet my guests is I meet them at a party or some sort of networking event. So I just get to know them a little personally, and if I get excited about their story, then I have a feeling that my audience is going to get excited about their story as well. So yeah, somebody can contact me, but it is, usually it's I've met them somewhere and started talking to them. Because when I meet people, I'm always kind of interviewing them. I don't mean to be, but I'm just curious what people do, because I like living. I don't do anything exciting myself, so I'm interested in when people are doing the excitement and risking their lives for me, so I don't have to. But I like finding out how they do it and why. Especially people that dive or fly or ride horses. I'm afraid of them too. So
Sure.
Anybody that does anything that I won't do, I'm particularly interested in them.
Yeah. So you seem to have a lot of irons in the fire, as they say. Have you always had a lot of irons in the fire? Is this something that you had on your wish list, or is this something that life is bringing to you?
Well, whenever I hold real jobs, I call a real job the kind that's 9 to 5 or where you have to be there. When I have those kinds of jobs, I don't do all these projects. I don't have time. But when I'm working from home, be it running a daycare center, and I did that, or anything where I'm working from home, then I have time to start being curious about other people and writing about them and interviewing them. All my books are nonfiction. I wrote 7 books. Although my children's novel, I call it a novel, Ride a Horse, Not an Elevator, but really that's based on my eccentric relatives in upstate New York when I was a little girl living in Queens on the 17th floor of a high-rise. And my grandmother was upset that I lived on an elevator, and they wanted me to come spend summers on the farm, and my father was upset that I'd be riding a horse because he thought that was dangerous. So I just came up with that title. But I call it fiction, but really it's true. I just didn't want any of my relatives to sue me or anything. Not that I say anything that negative at all. It's just, but I do make them look as eccentric as they are.
Yep.
Or were, but many of them are gone now.
Uh-huh. Well, you do have, it's not a 9-to-5 job, but you do have a real job at the Mystic Seaport.
Yeah, I work there about 1 day a week in an exhibit or on a substitute basis. So again, it's not where I'm committed, a large chunk of the time. So I have the mental energy to interview and write about people. So yes, I do have real jobs. I work for clients. I help rewrite their websites. I send press releases for them. So I build up my media contacts, over the years. I'm trying, the most important thing for me to do right now is to get a bill passed that requires education on congenital cytomegalovirus, because it's a preventable virus, but it is the #1 viral cause of birth defects, and most people have never heard of it. And women who are especially vulnerable to this, passing this on to their infants, are pregnant women or women about to become pregnant who work in daycare centers or who have young children in daycare centers. So the main point I'm trying to get across is that women should not be kissing their toddlers around the mouth or sharing cookies with them. My own daughter was born severely disabled when I ran a licensed daycare center, and nowhere in the licensing literature did it tell me I needed to be careful around toddlers who are shedding the virus. Studies they've done in daycare centers show that between 44 to 100% of toddlers are shedding this virus. It's called a silent one because most people don't have any symptoms, but it's not one that you want to catch for the first time when you're pregnant, because you can pass it across the placenta to a developing baby, and that's when disabilities can be caused. So that's something I do also, and because of that I learned how the government works a little bit. I learned we have a House and a Senate. I learned who my representative is. So I've been meeting with them and just trying to raise awareness. But otherwise I love promoting things, people. To me it's just fun to promote what people are doing by creating a press release and getting it out there, and I get excited when it gets picked up by TV and radio or the newspapers. So anyway, so that's just something I like, is writing press releases, trying to get their story down to one page.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to me that's fun.
Going back to CMV.
Cytomegalovirus, when you
Yeah.
say CMV.
Yep. Recently, my daughter became pregnant, and I was asking her, because I've told her about it since I know you, and she's talked to friends, and they almost kind of poo-poo it, in as much as one said, oh, what are you going to do, just stay away from kids? Another woman said, oh, well, I never heard of that, and neither has my gynecologist. So,
which is why, by the way, a lot of gynecologists don't warn their patients because they don't realize how prevalent it is. But if 1 in 150 babies are born with it, shedding the virus, I think that's a lot. Now, not all of those are going to be disabled by it. It kind of depends when you get it along in your pregnancy. But a lot of babies can look normal, but then they're gradually losing their hearing, and by then it's too late to determine what caused it, or they're showing learning disabilities later in life. So that's why people might poo-poo it. But yes, you can't stay away from your toddlers, but you can make an effort not to share the cookie with them.
sure.
And not to kiss them on the mouth. They reach their cute little lips up. It's tempting to kiss them back there, but you just need to hit for the cheek.
Yep.
You can't prevent it 100%, but a study in France and a study in the U.S. showed that you can reduce transmission by at least 50%.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so it's worth the effort, and it's not that hard if you learn what to do.
Okay, so, I'm not going to have any babies anytime soon, but what could I do as an individual to support your cause? Is there a website that you donate to? Are there telecons? Are there telethons? Are there...
There are several nonprofits that raise money for this issue to try to give it to researchers. You can look at, there's several, so I don't want to name one because I actually know I have friends that own different ones. But you can go to the CDC's website first of all, and there is information on CMV. So if nothing else, first of all, you can tell people about it. You can go to my blog, which is congenitalcmv.blogspot.com, and I list a lot of nonprofits there so that you can click and decide if you want to donate to one of them. And I recommend all of them actually, because they're all doing great work. So there is a way you can help with that. You can also tell people if you have a group that needs a speaker, invite me or somebody else or other Connecticut families and across the country, because I realize other people are watching this show. And a lot of people that know about it can come speak to a group about it. So until a law gets passed, I think it just has to be, I don't know what a grassroots effort means, but I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that it's word of mouth for now. And people might not believe it, but they can go to the CDC website. I work with people at the CDC who just feel like this is one birth defect that we can really reduce. It causes more disabilities than Down syndrome. And I just think when people really think about that there's actually something that can be done, then I think they would stop poo-pooing it and at least warn people. Reality is you shouldn't be kissing anybody on the lips anyway, except for your spouse.
And maybe not even him.
Because realistically, there's all kinds of things out there, but this is one that can hurt a developing fetus, and you don't want to do that. I don't really like to talk about what my daughter suffered because she wasn't just disabled, she also suffered, and I don't like to recall it. I like to recall when she felt good, but she had ever worsening epilepsy, and that is how she died, through having a seizure. And she had very painful surgeries as she aged, and her bones didn't, she wasn't walking. She was about a 3-month-old. It's not good for your bone development. So she had spinal fusion, hip surgery, all kinds of things. So I wouldn't wish that on anyone, and anyone that has a child going through this would have done anything if they had known about the virus. They feel, when I go to these international conferences, they're co-sponsored by the CDC, moms are always coming up to me, why didn't somebody take the time to warn me? Why? And I can't answer that. So when Utah passed a law requiring education, and especially in daycare centers, I thought, now I have something I can at least take to my Connecticut politicians, and people can start taking it to their politicians, whatever state you're in, and point to what happened in Utah. And I have a whole list of how to start it if you want to go to my website again, cmv.blogspot.com, and you can find out how to start approaching your own representatives. That is the one thing you can do, is just calling people.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like it would be a wonderful Christmas present and something to shoot for in the new year. Speaking of the new year, what is in the new year for you?
Well, like I said, more dead body finding, because I really do want to find, I'm very interested in all the lost at sea grave markers. So in addition to trying to get this bill passed that requires CMV education, I want to find a lot of these bodies that say lost at sea. I would be kind of fun to, maybe I could find out where they washed up, or something like that. Now with the internet, you can really find out a lot and put to bed some old issues and questions. I love mysteries, just like everybody wants to know, where did Amelia Earhart's plane really go down? I contacted Lockheed Martin the last time they found another piece that they think was her plane. I hadn't heard back from them, but I had been in touch with them before. All these things are exciting to me. I don't deep sea dive, but I do deep sea research, I guess you would say.
Well, you sound like a very busy woman.
And, I'm still looking for a dog, so if anyone has a dog in need of a home that's at least 3 years old, that I'm looking for a good walking companion in downtown Mystic. And for now, I am walking people's dogs just to share them.
Oh, that's very nice.
Anyway, happy holidays, and wishing you all a very great new year in 2015.
Thank you, Lisa. It was a wonderful discussion.
Thank you. Bye.